What's up, everyone? Good morning. Welcome back and welcome into Shaw Locals Bears Insider Podcast. I am Kyle Nabors along with Shaw Locals Bears Insider beat reporter Sean Hammond. Sean, man, Bears back at Hallis Hall this week after a really late season bye week. It feels weird to be talking about a bye when we're at week 14 here, but here we are. Bears are back. 5 games left. Or 5 games left? What's been the vibe around Hallis Hall this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's generally pretty good. I mean, I think coming out of a week off, I think all the guys are kind of in good spirits, good mood. Everybody's, for the most part, everybody's healthy. The entire team just about practiced on Wednesday, and then Equanimous St. Brown went out with an injury on Thursday. But other than that, there's not much injury stuff going on. They don't have anybody else on IR. So health-wise, things are looking good. And I think the focus is just on the Lions and trying to avenge that awful loss a couple of weeks ago.
Obviously you have a much better pulse on the locker room than I do, but it's when you talk about December football when teams are out of it, it can be kind of a slog, right? You've done this several years now. You know what it can get like at the end of the season. That doesn't seem to be the case with this team, though. I know it's a lot of young guys, like they're playing for positions, they're playing for jobs. But it is good to see there seems to be a competitiveness with this team that should carry through these final 5 weeks.
Well, and I think especially on the defensive side, I think these players realize that they're kind of finding their groove. I think they're having fun playing out there, especially those guys on defense. You've seen the last couple of games, all the interceptions and the stops that they've come up with. I think they're excited to get back out there on the field every week. And same goes for the offense. I know it hasn't been as successful, but I mean, that was more, I think that Minnesota game was more the game plan than anything. I mean, you look back to Detroit and those guys were moving the football and you're healthy. You think that you can get some stuff done here. These last 5 games show who you really are. And, I kind of think they have no reason not to be optimistic about that.
I agree. I don't know if this is going to translate to many wins, but I think with the way they're playing, there's reasons to feel good. There's reasons to think that they can get some wins over the last month of the season, Sean. But before we get into all that and talk Lions, Bears this weekend, thank you everyone who's joining us live on YouTube this morning. I see Rick in the chat, Mark, Robbie in, several long-time viewers here on Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. You can join us live usually at 9:30 on Monday and Friday mornings here each week with Sean Hammond and I. You can follow Sean on X at Sean_Hammond. You can also find him on Instagram and what is it? Threads? TikTok?
Threads.
Threads.
I'm not on TikTok, but I am on Threads.
You can find myself on X at Kyle Nabors. You can find all of our content on X at Bears_Insider. Of course, go to shawlocal.com. If you're watching live for us this morning, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up, and a shout out to Jake Bartleson, who is producing the show behind the scenes for us this morning. And when I talk about going to shawlocal.com, you'll find a column up there right now from Mark Silverman, our columnist, of course, from Waddle and Sylvie. Sylvie, Sean, this week, his column is on Jim Harbaugh. I know we've had some questions from our regulars here on the podcast the last couple of weeks about Jim Harbaugh. I thought Sylvie made some compelling arguments in his column. Did you have a chance to look at that?
I did read his column, and he brought up a lot of the history and the coaches that the Bears passed over in previous hiring cycles. You think of the Bruce Arians thing back when they hired Tressman, and he had a couple other.
I forgot about until reading until I read Sylvie's column that the Bears had asked Bruce Arians to do a mock press conference, despite the fact that he had just finished serving as the interim head coach.
Been doing
in
it
Indianapolis. Yeah. Oh man.
Sylvie brought up. He had more examples too, of course, going back into the 90s and all the way back to Ditka, really. His argument was like it's time to take a swing. It seems like the Bears have been hesitant to really take that swing for, a head coaching candidate who would really move the needle. And I get what he's arguing. I get what he's trying to say on some level. I think There was some Jim Harbaugh news yesterday. From the college football world, there's apparently he's in talks, or at least Michigan has put an extension on the table, and for whatever reason that hasn't, they haven't gotten over the finish line. You would think that a big reason might be the NFL, Kyle.
So possibly, I will say this. Jim Harbaugh is a guy through his emissaries or friends or people, that have sources that get the narrative, I guess to say, to get Jim's narrative out there, right? He has a long-standing tradition of kind of flirting with the NFL and dragging this type of stuff out to get some better deals for himself. And I don't really mind that per se. Like, it's everyone's right? It's just, I don't know if there's anything really to read into that outside of the fact that it's what he's doing. He's doing what he normally does. Like, I feel like every time there's a coaching cycle at this point, anytime his name is actively brought up, there's little nuggets left around to make you wonder, is he going to make that jump back to the NFL or not?
Yeah, there's always that lingering thought kind of in the back of your head with him, because he had success when he was an NFL head coach. I mean,
immediate
success, didn't have a losing record. I know it wasn't, wasn't the longest stint, but, had success, got to 3 straight NFC championship games, including a Super Bowl appearance. But you're right. I mean, it seems like, gosh, how many times have they extended him? It seems like that's a discussion every year, every other year, where, the NFL is always sort of looming for him. And, his people have done a good job of turning that into more years and more money from Michigan. Look, it's got to be the right job for him to leave that Michigan job, because clearly he loves it there. I think the Bears are probably one of the very few places that he would leave Michigan for.
Yeah, obviously there's a deep connection with the Bears, which is why this comes up on an almost annual basis, at least when the Bears are in the hunt for a coach, which does seem to be on an annual basis in recent years. Rick says, I think if the Bears show any interest in Harbaugh, he would come to Chicago. I guess, Rick, why do you feel that way? Because, I don't have any reason to believe that,
I think he is absolutely. I think he would absolutely take the interview and show up and talk to the Bears.
I think he would have interest. I just don't, we're talking it's not, he's getting paid more money at Michigan than he would be to be the Chicago Bears head coach.
Yeah, he's getting paid a heck of a lot of money. And I mean, part of it comes down to, are the McCaskies gonna want to pay what it's going to cost to get him to be your head coach? And is that a transaction that's worth it for them, for the organization?
Yeah. I'm divided on this one, because I think Sylvie made some really good points. Like, Jim Harbaugh has proven to be a winner. Like, at the NFL level, he's done a good job at Michigan. I don't know exactly how, his offensive philosophies would translate to the NFL. It's been more than a decade now, right? About a decade.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. That's my biggest concern when it comes to Jim Harbaugh. I'd rather have someone who's been around the NFL game recently, but I get the off the field, the locker room aspect, the way Jim Harbaugh is able to put together a team, keep a team together. It's very impressive.
Yeah, no, it's been impressive every step of the way, going way back to Stanford and every position he's been in, he's won. And so, that carries some weight. And you do wonder, when a coach has been at the college level now for what, I think he got hired in 2015 or something like that. It's nearly a decade, 8-9 seasons or whatever. And
I want to say his last in San Francisco was 2014.
Yeah. How we talk about these college coaches having the ultimate autonomy, compared to maybe an NFL coach who's got to answer to the GM and all, other people above him, and you're dealing with older athletes, you're dealing with professionals, I certainly think Jim Harbaugh would have no problem making that transition. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't, but it's something to consider, that he's been the guy in charge for nearly the last decade.
I got a quick question for you, Sean. Can you hear the music in the background?
I
On
don't
my
hear
end?
anything.
Okay,
No,
my wife has music playing upstairs. I can hear it. I just wanted to make sure you guys couldn't
no,
hear it.
I don't
Sorry.
hear anything.
All right, distracting me, but it's not distracting the listeners at least.
What are we listening to?
I don't even know. I just hear something in the background. I can hear her singing a little bit too. A lot of questions coming in here or comments coming in about Harbaugh. Maybe Harbaugh gets tired of NCAA scrutiny.
I mean,
Alan Dunlap says
that could be real.
The fact that it's over, like the investigation is over. He served his suspension. If this was something going into the offseason hanging over his head where we had to worry about maybe another suspension. I think back to it's been a long time now, but like Pete Carroll, conveniently getting the hell out of Dodge at USC when those sanctions were coming. That's possible. Like if there were sanctions possibly coming down the line, but we haven't really heard anything of that type of talk ever since he elected to accept that three-game suspension.
No, but it seems like the controversy always seems to follow with whatever they're doing there in Michigan. This wasn't the first time, he's had some questionable things going on. And so, if there were to be another investigation or whatever, like sanctions about this or that, certainly I think the number of times he's dealt with that, I feel like it would be human nature to just get tired of it.
I want to tie the quarterback position into this.
Yeah.
Because I do think that the head coach and the quarterback are probably tied together a bit in this situation, right? Like if you're giving Justin Fields another year, are you going to bring in a new coach and have him learn a new system again and then make a decision on Justin Fields a year down the line again, and then have are you gonna get off schedule like the Bears have done over and over here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it seems like that would not be the smartest way to go.
Right. To me,
I would think that you would want that timeline lined up. You either want a new coach and you draft a quarterback, or you stick with Eberflus and you stick with Fields and you take two really good football players with those top picks. And, you could even still take a quarterback if he's going to play behind Fields, at least to start the season.
I guess I think what I'm trying to say here is, and you're saying the same thing, is that the future of Matt Eberflus is probably pretty heavily tied to Justin Fields, right?
Yeah.
Because if Justin Fields and the Bears play well over the final 5 games here, let's say he looks really good, they go 3-2. I truly believe that there's a really solid chance that Matt Eberflus and this coaching staff are back next year, that they give it one more year with this regime and to see where they can take it with Justin Fields.
I agree that is absolutely within the realm of possibilities. It's funny, I talk to friends and family, outside of work, and obviously the Bears come up a lot, and yeah. Somebody the other day said, "Oh, so Eberflus is definitely gone, right?" And I'm kind of like,
no,
I don't necessarily agree with that. I know that's what a lot of fans want.
6 weeks ago, yes, things have changed.
The defense is playing a lot better. The offense is playing a lot better. It was in Detroit. I know the game plan against Minnesota was weird. Look, these last 5 games really do matter in this. They are that important.
If they come out and they go 1-4, and sorry to cut you off, Sean.
No, go ahead. You have the right thought.
Yeah, if they go 1-4 and Justin Fields is inconsistent, then this conversation we're having right now is just throw it out the window, and you're right. These 5 games, they matter more than any stretch than I can remember, because I feel like we've known, when it was John Fox, when it was Matt Nagy, when it was Mitch Trubisky,
mm-hmm.
When you knew the end of the Jay Cutler era, we've known pretty clear break when this stuff was coming. I have no idea how this is going to play out this offseason.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
And, to bring it back to the top of the show, everybody is healthy. For the first time all year, you have your team at full strength. This is your opportunity to show, what you envision this team looking like as it's currently constructed, what you can do with this roster. This is like, yeah, this is going to be the important stretch here that sort of determines the fate of Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus. I know you have to look at the whole, especially with Justin. He was here, a year before that. You have to look at the whole thing, but like with all these guys healthy, you should be able to score points. And if they can't, I mean, that's going to be a problem.
Let's pivot over there, right? Let's talk Detroit, Chicago this weekend, because the Lions are giving up, I think it's 29 points per game over their last 5 games. This defense that a lot of people were talking up the first half of the season, again, the NFL season is so incredibly long. I don't think they're this bad, but this seems like another opportunity where the Bears can put points on the board. And the weather, I don't know if you'd been paying attention. Earlier in the week, it looked like Sunday was going to be an absolute disaster at Soldier Field, but they're saying it's going to be nice and sunny. It's going to be a little cold, but it should be perfect condition for the ball to be in the air for the Bears.
Yeah, that's good news. And you're right. I mean, this Lions defense has not played well. They just lost Aleem McNeil, their big defensive tackle, went on IR this week. So that's obviously a big loss for them. He's a really, really nice player. He's a big reason why they have so much success at the edge with Aiden Hutchinson and those guys. Like they should be able to score points against these guys. And, I know they scored points the last time they played the Lions, but they settled for a lot of field goals in that game, Kyle. And
yeah, they did.
They got to find ways to punch those into the end zone, to finish out the drives in the red zone. I know Cairo Santos is having a great season. That's awesome, but you got to score touchdowns.
Yeah. It's part of the learning process. We talk about Justin Fields finishing games, leading a game-winning drive, which we saw against Minnesota, coming through with a big throw. The other thing is finishing in the red zone. Top NFL offenses, not surprising, right? Like you finish in let's say the top third of the league in red zone efficiency, you're going to be a pretty good offense. Now that I think about it, though, like they struggled in that game. I don't know if that's been an issue overall. I kind of want to go back and look at the red zone numbers now.
It's funny. I was just looking at this. The Bears rank 11th in the NFL in the red zone, their offense.
Yeah, I'm going to say that.
Like, it's not that bad. It hasn't been that bad. They settled for 8-9 field goals the last 2 games. So yeah, like recency bias, you're thinking, okay, they can't seem to punch it into the end zone. But overall, they've been pretty good in the red zone.
Yeah. I don't know if
I think some of those, and Cairo Santos has made a lot of long field goals over the last couple of weeks. Those are drives that, if I recall, probably finished just outside the red zone. So maybe they're not counting in that statistic.
Yeah. Want to quickly go ahead and get a shout out to Ken Nelson Auto Group, proudly serving the Sauk Valley area for over 55 years. Ken Nelson Auto Group offers 10 new vehicle franchises in one convenient location right here in Dixon, Illinois. Shop a great selection of new and pre-owned vehicles at kennelsonauto.com. Sean, where do you think the Bears break down their running back usage this weekend?
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun one to watch and interesting to see, because for the first time in a while, you're going to have Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman, and Roschon Johnson all healthy. For the last 2 months, one of those guys has been out, whether it's Herbert or Foreman. They both missed a fair amount of time. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, last time we saw them, Roschon Johnson was the lead guy. Herbert was healthy but didn't play a whole lot. You wonder if they just want to get a longer look at Roschon at this point. I asked Luke Getsy about Roschon yesterday, and he felt like he brought up that especially in the passing game, when Roschon is early in the season, when he caught a pass, there was maybe a little hesitation about
getting it to the marker,
where to go. And now he catches the pass and he's gone, he's moving. And so certainly in the passing game, I think Roschon's going to be heavily involved. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I think Foreman's played really well. He's earned it. At the same time, Herbert, you never want a guy to lose a job because of an injury. But
how surprised were you last week? I think Khalil Herbert played, was it 21% of snaps?
Yeah.
Do you
given
chalk
that
that up to coming off the injury?
I mean, maybe, but he played more than that the week before. He was healthy for that Lions game, and he played a fair amount in that game. So I was surprised to see Roshan in there so much. Um, and so maybe that's what we're gonna see moving forward. I don't really know.
Wouldn't shock me to see Roshan emerge as the lead back. He's the most dynamic of the three of them. But I also don't want to count what I'll say what I'll say is I don't know if it really matters all that much because like okay, so Deonta Foreman's on a 1-year deal. He may not be back after this
Yeah.
year. But like they're going to use multiple backs in this system anyway. Like I think they're fine with rotating guys, using the hot hand, keeping guys fresh. If someone gets nicked up, fine. Yeah, they'll play 25% of snap because we got guys we can use. You know, that's probably the coaching staff, the philosophy the coaching staff is using in this situation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, and look, the nature of the position, one of these guys is probably going to get hurt in the next couple of weeks anyway and be sidelined again. And then you're down to the other two. And so, yeah, like it probably doesn't matter. But I think it will be notable to see who is getting the looks when all three are healthy, at least to start this game.
I'll say that it only matters if you think one of them has a chance to be like an elite running back in the NFL.
Yeah,
I don't think that's Herbert. I don't think that's Foreman. And I love Deonta Foreman. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I've given that guy more praise over the last 3 years on this show, even when he wasn't on the Bears, than probably a lot of Bears players. But like Roshan is the unknown of the group. He was behind Bijan Robinson at Texas, so that makes him even more of an unknown. But he's such an incredible athlete that, you know, when you talk about this 5-game sample size here, it would make sense for him to get that first crack at least.
Yeah, it would. And it would absolutely make sense. And you're right. Like, I don't know if any of these guys is a quote unquote elite NFL running back, but like you said, Foreman's not going to be here next year. I think you got to give Roshan Johnson some looks just to give you an idea of what you want to do with this position moving forward. Herbert's got one more year on his contract, but you know, it's one of those positions we see it in the NFL. Like teams are always drafting running backs. You know, they seem to cycle through these guys on the rookie contracts. The running back group as a whole across the NFL is going to be a really interesting position to watch this next offseason. There's a lot of guys coming up for contracts. We'll see who gets paid and who doesn't.
Jay, can you throw the comment up here about Luke Getsy and had no plan versus blitz? Yeah, there you go. So James checking in, appreciate the comment. Luke Getsy had no plan versus blitz looked. It's ridiculous, James said. I want to talk about Luke Getsy a little bit here because he's going to get I feel like he, of all the coaches, maybe if anyone on this Bears roster outside of Justin Fields, is probably going to get the most scrutiny over the next 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. We discussed that game plan or that what happened against Minnesota. I wanted to actually say, James, I actually kind of took what we saw as Minnesota, as weird as it sound, as a sign of growth from Luke Getsy, because while I thought they needed to get a little more vertical, like I actually like the fact that he understood that Minnesota was going to blitz at a high rate, get the ball out of Justin's hands quick. And they've talked about at Hallis Hall since then, right, about how Justin actually, you know, some of those looks he audibled into out of an RPO, got out of a run and went to that quick passing game. You can maybe disagree with the game plan, but I don't think that they didn't have a game plan is what I guess I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the thought process that they went through, and you can see, you know, what they were trying to do. I don't think that's not having a plan for the blitz. I think that's trying to make the blitz as ineffective as possible by getting the ball out quickly. And yeah, it sounds like Justin, you know, audibled into some of those plays. And so maybe that's why it seemed like there was so much lateral passing in that attack. And yeah, you want to see him push the ball downfield, but the
Bears wouldn't answer this, and I'm not smart enough to know this. I wonder how many times Justin made the correct decision. The coaches felt Justin made the correct decision by going to those.
Yeah, and we'll never get that answer. And I see
Right.
James has another comment here: no slants, crossers, draw plays, and yeah, like that's fair. Like
Yeah.
we should have some slants in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, like
I was not endorsing Luke Getsy by
yeah.
saying that. I want to make that clear. All I was trying to say is it wasn't that they didn't
I'm
have
not.
a game
Yeah,
plan.
it wasn't a perfect plan, but you could kind of get their thought process once they explained it on some level. But I do agree with what you're saying, Kyle. That like this is a big stretch for Luke Getsy too. Especially if the Bears do keep Matt Eberflus, and they want to move ahead with Justin Fields. Do they have the right coordinator for their quarterback? Are they happy with where this offense has progressed and where it is? And these last 5 games are going to give us a pretty good indication of whether things are trending in the right direction on offense.
Rick just threw a question in there about here you go. Offensive penalties more on Flus or Gessie. To me, that is one of our biggest issues on offense. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought to that question is I would put that obviously, it's really on the players, but I would put that more on Getsy than Flus. I think Getsy is the one who's hyper focused on that offense, and I think Matt Eberflus is a little bit more big picture when he's in these, whether he's in an offensive, defensive, special teams meeting. He's the executive head coach type guy. He's the big picture dude, and I think you got to pin that on the coordinator in that instance.
I want to you talking about being the big picture guy. Maybe I want to throw this out here to the chat. This question. We've criticized Matt Eberflus's game management several times throughout the season. I go back to a couple halftime late first half decisions. I personally feel like it's gotten a bit better over the last month or so. I want to throw this question out to the chat. Do you guys feel like Matt Eberflus has improved with his game management? I don't think he's good at it, by the way, but I do think it's improved slightly.
I don't think he's good at it, by the way.
I don't think I don't know how. Like, I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. I still don't think Matt Eberflus is a good in-game coach. But
I haven't had as many problems with the. It seems like it's always the end of the second quarter that he's got some weird thing going on.
It is. I don't know what exactly it is about that. But
I do kind of think, maybe there hasn't been like a glaring mistake the last 2 games. I don't know. There's still plenty of time for that to come back.
I like that's meh. Yeah. But Matt is an improvement, Rick. Matt, like I have not had as many want to pull my hair out moments over the last month. It's all bad, Robbie said, but the players still play hard, which is strange. I don't see them giving up 50 burgers like the end of the Trestman era and Nagy. Yeah, like we can for the on-field, in-game questions that we still have about the coaching staff. This team is really playing hard for them. Like, even like Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren in the locker room, nodding along, celebrating with guys. Like, we go back to the beginning of the show here. Like, this all leads me to believe that unless this goes off the rails over the last 5 games, they're running this thing back, guys.
I think it was very notable that Kevin Warren was in that post-game press conference after that Minnesota win. And, that's just a show of support that those guys seem to be behind the head coach. And, there's still 5 games that can change, in an instant.
Yeah, and here, so Mark says, I think Eberflus is a phenomenal or defensive corner. I don't think he's a good head coach. So I can't believe I'm going to do this here after thinking that he was going to be for sure fired. We haven't even reached the end of the second season with him. His players seem to like him, as we just talked about here. If they continue to play well, like, this is his first head coaching job. We just talked about, well, he does seem to be getting at least slightly better. If that continues over these next 5 weeks, like, is it within the realm of possibilities that, like, he's learning on the job? Like, this, the product has gotten better on the field. Maybe. I don't feel like that's a great possibility at this point, but I guess I'm willing to leave that open here.
You can see that this team has improved. I mean, remember, 2 months ago, they started out the season 0-4 and it looked awful. And On some level, I think, especially if you're Ryan Poles, like you almost throw out all of last year because it was they had so little talent on that team, especially after the trade deadline. Like almost none of that mattered, other than getting rookies snaps and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I do think this team has improved. I think it's going to be a really, really tough decision for Ryan Poles and what they want to do moving forward. And I I think you got to play it out. I think it's as simple as that. You got to play it out and see how this goes. I don't think you can make up your mind yet.
Do you have it in front? You probably don't have it in front of you either. I'm going to quickly pull it up here. I want to make sure I don't get it wrong. What are the Bears' final 5 games?
I do have it up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
I was ready for you, Kyle. Okay, so this weekend they got the Lions at home. They go at Cleveland, at home against the Cardinals, at home against the Falcons, and then at Green Bay. Like we've been saying, obviously the Lions game is tough, and the Browns defense is tough, although you should be able to hold that Browns offense. I think they're all winnable games. There's going to be a lot of outside football, Kyle. Outdoors in December. That could be a little bit of an issue too.
Yeah, that's true. I wish you had a couple more dome games.
You wish you had a couple more indoor games.
Yeah, just to see the offense in ideal conditions. But at the end of the day, you're the Chicago Bears. You're going to be playing half your games outdoors anyway. So, Where do you think? Another question for the chat. Like, where I think the Bears need to win out for everyone to stay. That's kind of where I was going with this, Mark. So, thank you. I don't know if the wins and losses matter. Like, if they go 0-5, 1-4, it's probably going to cause some changes because most likely they're going to have to play really poorly, I think, to go 0-5 or 1-4. I think if they go like 3-2, 2-3, but they look good doing it, that's going to help the cause pretty well. Let's see what Rick says here. If Flus beats Lions and Green Bay, his chances of staying will go up big time. That would mean 3-3 in the division from 0-9. That's a really good point, Rick. Yeah, I think that's finishing 3-3 after starting 0-9. That would be
Yeah, and look, I mean, beating the Packers matters to the people in charge, to the McCaskies.
It would be an interesting bookend too, because you started the season getting
crushed by them,
getting pantsed and looking completely unprepared and overmatched against a Green Bay team that I still don't think is very good. Although, we've talked about this several times now. Credit to that staff up there for getting the most they can out of that roster.
That game, the Packers could be trying to play their way into the playoffs in that game too. I mean,
that's wild.
The Bears could be playing spoiler in Week 18 up at Lambeau, or at least trying to play spoiler.
That'd be a fun storyline, wouldn't it?
That would be a fun storyline.
All right, well, let's finish it off here. We got to get going, guys. Thank you, everyone who joined us live this morning. Make sure, once again, you go to shawlocal.com all weekend long for coverage of Bears Lions. Sean, what do you think of this game? Do you think the Bears come away with a win?
I've been debating this all week, and I'm going to pick them. I think they're going to win this game. I think the defense is playing at a really high level. I think the crowd's going to get behind the Bears. I think it'll be a tight one. I think they're going to have to win close games if they're going to win games down the stretch here. I'm going to say something like, 27-24. I think both these teams will put up some points, but I'm going to pick the Bears to win this one.
We are pretty much exactly on the same page. I had the Bears 28-24 is what I had. Jared Goff outdoors in December. Frankly, you look at the way these two teams have played recently, the Bears are playing better football than the Detroit Lions over the last month. I think in Chicago, like I said, Jared Goff outdoors, I think the Bears find a way to get it done. So good start for Matt Eberflus here, I think, coming this Sunday. But for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off, guys. One more time. Make sure you follow Sean on Twitter at Sean_Hammond and also at Bears_Insider. Thank you to Jake Bartleson for producing behind the scenes today. I am Kyle Nabors. Everyone enjoy a good weekend of football. We'll be back to talk Bears Lions with you, recap it early next week. Later, everyone.